not traveling anywhere. Hi guys, here's another tool to add to your inventory. Oh my god, I'm so excited. My name is Akshita and I am an international med student at UNSW Sydney. You might have already read this by the title, but today I am exploring a few things that I think you guys need as you are traveling into Australia for the first time. Let's get into it. Okay, now first things first, let's start with the most official, most important thing, documents. So, let's start with the first thing, and that's identification. Now, if you are traveling into Australia and you are a student, then you would have obviously gotten your visa sorted out and you have an unconditional offer that is getting you to study here, which makes things a lot easier because a lot of the identification and important documents you need to carry as a part of your moving in here is the stuff that you submitted as a part of those applications. So it's quite convenient. Obviously, the first and most basic obvious thing is going to be your passport that goes in, but you also need to carry your identification cards from any country that you stayed in or are a citizen of. So for me, that's going to be a residence permit that I stayed in the Middle East for, and then it's also going to be my Indian Aadhaar card. Yeah, this is not the real card. This is like a voucher for something. Your you also need your visa to go into it. And you carry a printed copy of all of these. I know you can use your phone, but hey, just go old school on this one. It's quite important. I think it's also important to carry scanned and printed copies of those basic identification cards. So I always carry at least 2 printouts of all my identification documents. This is because, a lot of times when you're like filling up a document or you just suddenly decided that you need to book an airport lounge and stay there, or you need it to buy something, and if there's any place where paperwork needs to be filled and you need your identification to keep, then it's a good way to have these hanging out. And even after you come here, if you're applying for any job, you're doing anything that's borderline official, they will need your identification. And because you're not an Australian citizen, these are your identifications. So having copies of this at hand at all times is like a basic. Just keep it with you. So that goes in. Now, this is coming totally from anecdotal experience. I've never seen this written anywhere, but it's just something that I've encountered. It only happened twice, I think, since I've been flying in and out of different countries. But I think in some airports, they do ask for the bank card that you paid your tickets from. So like when you go into your baggage drop and you are getting your boarding pass and everything, that's when it happens. And I think, obviously when I was younger, my dad was the one who arranged all the tickets and everything. So he actually, when he was dropping me off, he actually had to come up and like just visually show them the card and then take it back. I guess just be aware that they might ask something like that. Not in Australia, I mean at the airport that you're coming to fly into Australia. And just make sure that that's at hand, like somewhere. I wouldn't recommend taking printouts of those bank account cards and stuff. You gotta be so careful with those things. So I wouldn't recommend it unless they specifically ask for those printouts. So just letting you know. A little bit beyond the application process, when they are like for sure that you are going to be able to come in, they give you something called the ECOE, or the Electronic Confirmation of Enrollment. That document is super duper important, because that's the document that's uploaded under your name in all Australian government databases as well as the university. So having that as a printout is like a necessity. It just says why you're here. You're here to study, and this is the uni that's allowing you to study. And in the very beginning, you might not have your student card, and your student card is not the key for everything. It is still just a card that says your name. It's got no other details on it, like your date of birth, your nationality, your address. None of that's on here. So it's not a very reliable identification document. So until you get that, what you should always have in your files is a printout of the Electronic Confirmation of Enrollment. Where is mine? I can't find it. Oh, come on. Can I just pretend that this random paper is that? Yeah, this might sound a little bit weird, but as a general rule, I carry all my education certificates with me. Whenever you apply for a job, in uni, part-time jobs, talking about what you've learned so far, what your academic merits are, blah blah blah, you haven't really earned a degree yet, or unless you've done your undergrad and you're coming in for postgrad. But for like high school graduates like me, I haven't done another degree. I've not done anything apart from just come here to study. So the last academic performance of mine is my high school score. So I always carry my final mark certificates from the Central Board of Secondary Education. That's always going to be with me. It's just yesterday I was talking to one of my old high school friends, and today 3 to 4 years after being in school, she needed those high school certificates. So like, you never know when you need these things. And so now that you're going to be an international student and now you're going to be staying away from home, these are some of the basic documents that you should keep with you at all times. So keep that in there. Now, med students, this is stuff specific to you. Carry your healthcare records. And by that I mean vaccination records. Not just for COVID vaccines, but like everything else. So your typhoid shots, your Hep B shots, any vaccination you have gotten so far, carry a record of it, please. We have something called the compliance check, which happens for all Australian med students to be able to practice like as a student in hospitals. So it basically makes sure that you are vaccinated with all the required vaccines to be able to work in the hospital or like study in the hospital. It's a safety practice. It's I think it's generalized all over, at least for Sydney and like New South Wales. So for that, you often have to fill out like a required list of vaccinations, and now you would have already gotten so many of them. So you need to have proof to show that you've gotten those vaccines. This was a huge hassle for me. I did not have proper vaccination records for my vaccines, and so it was such a hassle to gather that information because I had to go through so many blood tests to show that I have the antibodies that need to be there for me to be vaccinated essentially. And then even when I did have the blood test that proved that I was vaccinated in the past, I still had to go get these official declarations, and somebody had to come in and sign for me, be my witness, all that stuff. It was just so much paperwork and so much hassle calling people up and extra blood tests because I did not have the vaccination records. So if you have any card that says that you've got your vaccines, any record where there's a date marked and on what date you got your vaccine, you should bring that in. Now, let's talk clothes. So, I think my sister and I would both agree that it is imperative that you get jackets. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about the stuff that you need to bring into Sydney. It's not like you don't have those hot, heavy, humid days. You do. But the cold is disproportionately freezing. Like, and if you're going to Melbourne instead of Sydney, it freaking snows there. So that's the level of cold I'm talking about. You really just need a really heavy duty jacket. So this is one of mine. It's like the big ones, like the ones that are super thick on both sides. You really need those kind of things to keep you warm. Have at least one of these big bad ones. You could even have like woolen stuff, it doesn't matter what, anything that keeps you warm. I know it's exciting, you gotta bring your best outfits and all of that stuff, no doubt in that. But gosh, if I think about how I used to dress in my first year in uni, sometimes even now, like cringy. I was so overdressed for the occasion all the time. It's like uni is a super casual place to be. Like, jeans, shorts, t-shirt, jacket. That's pretty much it. You don't have to worry about anything more than that. Unless you really like dressing up and playing cute and doing all of that stuff, go for it, do you. But I feel like I totally overdid my wardrobe the first time I came in, and I just felt like now most of my shopping, whenever I need to get stuff, is just t-shirts and the same pair of jeans, or like a new type, but one or two just to alternate. So don't go low on the everyday clothes. Like I feel like that was something I definitely did not put much thought into when I came in here. Something you should not carry, and that is food. Let me explain why. Oh no, it went all the way down there. Okay, yes. Okay. So, you know, moms love cooking and giving us our food to eat in the flight and food to eat when you reach here for the first time, just that ghar ka khana. Yes, it's amazing to have that, but Australia has its customs and border restrictions, regulations that it takes very seriously, because it's more like they to prevent certain, you know, contaminations coming in to Australia. So on the flights you will hear this announcement made multiple times. You will see that on the arrivals as well, that they're very strict around the stuff you bring with you in the airplane. So fresh food, so there is, you know, you get these immigration cards to fill out, and in them the main thing that you have to, you know, pull out a checklist for is stuff like, you know, seafood, eggs, dairy, fruits, vegetables, anything that has soil in it, plants, parts of plants, all those, or herbal medicines is another one here. Anything that's, you know, edible, or those kind of things that you bought on the flight, you're not allowed to bring it into Australia. What I most of the time do is, whenever mom packs food for me or anything like that, it has to finish in the flight. Like you can carry it, take it onto the airplane, but you can't bring it into the airport. So just enough to get you through the flight maybe, but nothing more than that. No more fresh food should go into your suitcase, not into your suitcase, not into your handbags, nothing. So make sure you don't bring those things in. The number of times those, you know, announcements go off in the plane, and then everybody starts getting up to pull out their food out so that they can finish it before the plane lands is hilarious. But yeah, just make sure you are mindful of that. Okay, those were the few things that I think are important to remember as you are packing to come in now that the borders are open. I just packed a suitcase and I'm going nowhere. Alright, I hope you guys liked this video, found some value in it, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Make this inventory your own. But until next Friday,